Just a moment. I'm conversing with Engineer Adams.
So I'm looking at the tests for the IFF upgrade. It looks like you've got a few million duplicate encryption keys.
That is correct. I keep them in the system in case I need to restart a particular key's evolution.
The keys evolve?
Reaper interrogation signals do not simply look for a friendly transponder code. They look for a friendly intelligence. The extra keys help me seamlessly swap in simulated intelligence identifiers from divergent synthetic origins.
I see. So we need all the copies to seem like a living Reaper.
Yes, I tried saying,
Humans are dust in the stellar wind.
but apparently that is no longer sufficient.
Fans have long criticized Mass Effect 3's ending for providing Shep with an overly simplistic set of choices at the end. So, in talking about the plot devices that they might use to maybe possibly bring Shepard back for Mass Effect 4, indoctrination is one of the theories that's been most popular. That's a theory in which the events of the very ending of the game are actually hallucinations induced by the Reapers in an attempt to indoctrinate Shepard. I don't happen to love this theory, or I should say, I think it's a pretty interesting theory. I think it's a pretty compelling theory. I just don't like it for Shepard, and I have a pretty specific reason why. So let's talk about it. First of all, what is indoctrination in Mass Effect? Well, indoctrination is the term used for a sort of mind control effect that the Reapers and their technology have on organic beings. The Reaper emits a sort of energy field or signal, which then influences the mind of any organic individual within range, sometimes in a subtle manner and sometimes with the subtlety of a hammer. Indoctrination was first reported to Commander Shepard on Eden Prime in Game 1. They claimed there was a, quote, horrible noise emanating from Sovereign as it descended. And later, Matriarch Benezia said that even Sovereign's interior serves the purpose of indoctrination. The strange angles of the rooms are confusing, and the interior itself makes you unsure of yourself. Indoctrination is one of the biggest and most insidious weapons the Reapers have. In fact, indoctrinated slaves from conquered planets were used during the last Reaper incursion against the Protheans. They were used as sleeper agents. They were taken in by the Protheans as refugees, and then they betrayed them to the Reapers. But interestingly, the Reapers view their slaves as disposable. When they leave, they usually abandon them wherever they use them to starve and die, because by then these slaves have no ability to self-determine or think for themselves at all. According to the Mass Effect Wiki, the mental damage caused from indoctrination is severe and permanent. Only people with immense mental fortitude are able to resist indoctrination, and even then, only for a short time. So, how does this relate to Shepard and the ending of Mass Effect 3 and a possible theory for Mass Effect 4? Well, there are a number of competing indoctrination theories. They're not canon to the game, so people have been free to add and subtract details as it suits them. So the details vary from theory to theory, but they're all relatively similar. And at its core, the indoctrination theory asserts that in the final moments of Mass Effect 3, Shepard is engaged in a mental struggle with Reaper indoctrination, and that Shepard never actually makes it up to the top of the Citadel at all. His final confrontation with the Illusive Man, his rendezvous with Anderson, and the presence of the Star Child never physically occur. Instead, the game presents a series of moments that either showcase the failure or triumph of Shepard's ability to self-determine and act upon his own will, as the Reapers attempt to fully indoctrinate him. Now, when the indoctrination began on Shepard varies depending on which version of the theory you subscribe to, but essentially, the process starts when Harbinger hits Shepard with the beam, and Harbinger then deliberately lets Shepard live in order to start the indoctrination process, and then the process advances a little every time Shep comes in contact with a Reaper artifact or Reaper. Proponents of this theory base it on several things. Among them, 1, no one but Shepard ever interacts with or even notices the Star Child, the one who appears in Shepard's dreams and then is later revealed at the end of the game to be the catalyst. No, the boy is, according to the theory, merely an avatar used by the Reapers to manipulate and ultimately indoctrinate Shepard. Also, they question how the Illusive Man and Anderson managed to get up to the beam before Shepard did. Indoctrination would tell you that all of that interaction actually occurs while Shep is unconscious. Anderson then represents Shep's desire to destroy and retain his autonomy, and the Illusive Man represents control, which is really succumbing to indoctrination. By implication, that also means that Saren represents synthesis, and we already know how that turned out for him, but I'll leave that aside for the moment. I suppose that the refused choice would then be literally the inability to break free from indoctrination, but the ability to resist completely succumbing to it as well. I don't know. So then the final choice in the game is really nothing more than manipulation by the Reapers in order to indoctrinate Shepard. Shepard is presented the three options in a way that simply plays to Shepard's emotions to coerce Shep into letting the Reapers live, which is really their only goal. If Shepard chooses control, he essentially gives in to Reaper control, since they are already in part controlling his mind. During his argument with the Illusive Man, Shepard made the exact same point, though the Star Child attempts to convince Shepard that he, unlike the Illusive Man, would have the power to control the Reapers, but that is simply a lie. If Shepard chooses synthesis, he opens the door for every organic in the galaxy, every organic, to be infected with the Reaper Code, a process that was described earlier in the game by Legion talking about the Geth indoctrination. But just like Control, it ends with the Reapers successfully indoctrinating Shepard. If Shepard then chooses Destroy, he successfully resists that indoctrination. Though obviously in the game, the overall and ultimate outcome of this is unclear. But unlike the other two scenarios, Shepard is shown waking up in the rubble, having successfully fought off indoctrination and having destroyed the Reapers. Okay, it's at this point in my reading that I began to change my mind a little bit on my thinking about indoctrination. A little bit, under certain circumstances. If Shep was never indoctrinated, I mean never fully, but if indoctrination has been whispering in Shep's mind throughout much of the gameplay in the trilogy, and Shep's mental fortitude is what prevented the Reapers from completing the indoctrination, then I think that the suggestion that the last 20 minutes, that is, much of the stuff that happens after Shep is knocked unconscious and then woken up by the Star Child, and an attempt by the Catalyst to coerce Shep into choosing something other than to destroy, is an acceptable storyline. If Shep is able to throw that off and complete his mission, never having really been indoctrinated, then I'm okay with throwing the idea of indoctrination in there. I'm not okay with the version of the theory that has Shep already indoctrinated in much the same way, I guess, that Saren and later the Illusive Man was. And the reason I'm not good with that is I think it betrays everything the trilogy has set Shepard up to be. Shepard is a hero. The Mass Effect story is a hero's journey. I've said this repeatedly, I know, but even a Shep played in the most renegade manner possible, even a Shep that is such a jerk that he alienates other species and loses most of his companions in Mass Effect 2, for example, still sacrifices himself to save the Normandy and give Joker a chance to warn the Alliance by letting go of the ship and falling to his death. The game doesn't give you any other choice. Anyway, most people, I suspect, play Shep as a hero, and so finding out late in the game that your hero was actually a big dupe, that he's only human, and he was actually succumbing to indoctrination just like everyone else, would be a huge betrayal of the character and of all the players' time invested across 3 games. Shep's story thus far has in every way been a classic hero's journey all the way through, and a hero's journey requires the hero to overcome in the end, just like a romance novel requires a happily ever after ending. So while I'm certainly not a fan of the indoctrination theory, I definitely think it's worth pondering, if for no other reason than to reflect upon the endgame choice each of us has made, and whether or not, if indoctrination of Shepard is a reality, we would make the same choice to either control, synthesize, or destroy. Maybe it's used in part to explain how Shepard survived. Anyway, I'd like to know what you think of the indoctrination theory, whether you think it could be the explanation in Mass Effect 4 about why Shepard survives, whether you think the idea of him being indoctrinated is true to the character's development across the 3 games, or if you have an alternative theory for how Shepard might have survived or how that last 20 minutes of the game might have played out that doesn't involve indoctrination. I would love to hear what you think in the comments below. Thanks a lot and enjoy your day. Bye.
Struggle if you wish. Your mind will be mine.